All right, let's talk about something we see all the time, but maybe don't think about hidden codes. They're everywhere, especially when we travel. Today, we are going to zero in on one of the most common ones your boarding pass. We're about to uncover the secret language that makes global air travel work. And believe it or not, it all starts with a simple list. Come on, you've definitely seen them, right? Those two little letters right before your flight number. Maybe you've seen SQ for a trip on Singapore Airlines or TG if you're flying to Thailand. They can seem kind of random, but trust me, they're the key to this massive, intricate global system. So let's decode it. So how do we crack this code? Well, like any good mystery, we need a key. And for us, that key is a simple piece of data from the aviation world that, you'll see, unlocks this entire system. And this is it. This little snippet of data is basically our Rosetta Stone for the sky. Now, on the surface, it just looks like a table, right? But if you look a little closer, you'll see it reveals something absolutely crucial. There isn't just one code for each airline, there are two. And that right there is the first big secret we're going to uncover. There's the two-letter code that you, the passenger, see on your ticket, and then there's a totally different three-letter code that the pilots and air traffic controllers are using. So let's break down why. Okay, so think of it like this. The code on the left, that's for you. It's for all the commercial stuff, booking tickets, checking bags. But the code on the right, that's for the crew. That's for operations, for safety, for actually flying the plane. So while you book Korean Air as KE, your pilot is talking to the tower using KAL. They're literally speaking two different languages for two very different jobs. So the one you're familiar with, that's the IATA code. The International Air Transport Association assigns these two-letter codes. It's what you type in to book a flight, it's what the airline uses to track your bags, and it's what you see on the big departure boards. It's really the public-facing business side of the airline industry. But then you've got what's happening behind the scenes, and that's where the ICAO code comes in. The International Civil Aviation Organization issues these three-letter codes, and these are used for, well, everything official. We're talking flight plans, air traffic control communications, all the operational stuff. This system makes sure there is absolutely zero confusion in the sky. Okay, let's run through a few more of these just so it really clicks. You fly Cathay Pacific using the code CX, but to a controller, they're CPA. Air China's ACDU and me, but CCA to them. And Vietjet Air is VJ on your ticket, but VJC on the official flight plan. See how it works? Two separate, parallel systems. Okay, so we've cracked the individual codes, we get it. But what happens when we zoom out and look at our entire list of airlines altogether? Well, it turns out it starts to draw a map for us, and it reveals where the major aviation players in this particular data set are really concentrated. So when you look at all 35 airlines from our source list, one thing just jumps right out at you. A whopping 40% of them are from China. And you also see these really strong clusters from South Korea and across Southeast Asia. What this does is it paints a picture of a super active, really dense aviation network, and it reveals this hidden map of the major economic and travel hubs in this part of the world. Yeah, let that sink in for a second. 14 out of the 35 airlines in just this one sample are based in China. That is a huge indicator of just the scale of the country's aviation industry and its central role as a massive regional hub. But you know, these airline codes, that's only half the story. There's a whole other secret language being spoken in the sky, and this one is all about measurement. And it's a system that, honestly, seems to defy the modern world. And it's a really good question, right? I mean, most of the world measures distance in kilometers and height in meters. So why is it that the moment you get on a plane, everything suddenly flips to feet for your altitude and nautical miles for your distance? Well, it is definitely not by accident. So, what's the deal? Why not just use kilometers like pretty much everyone else? Well, the answer is this cool mix of history, navigation, and most importantly, the absolute critical need for a universal standard that every single pilot and controller on the planet can understand in an instant. All right, first step, the nautical mile. And no, it's not just some old-timey unit they forgot to update. It's specifically a navigational tool. See, 1 nautical mile is based on 1 minute of latitude along the Earth's circumference. And that makes all the math for long-distance, globe-spanning navigation way simpler and more direct than trying to do it with kilometers. And then there's altitude. For that, we use feet. And the reason for this one is simple, and it's absolutely critical. Safety. When you have dozens of planes in the sky at once, they all need to be separated by standard, predictable distances. Having one universal unit, Feet ensures a pilot from China and a pilot from Brazil are talking about the exact same altitude, which prevents, catastrophic misunderstandings. So here's the whole toolkit, all laid out. We've got nautical miles for distance in the air, feet for altitude. But what's interesting is that meters are still used, but usually for things on the ground, like how long a runway is. It's this hybrid system where every single unit has a very specific and very important job. So after all this, what does it really mean for you? It means that the next time you step onto a plane and you glance down at your boarding pass, you're not just a passenger holding a piece of paper, you're a code breaker. You now have the key to the language of the sky. So yeah, that little 2-letter IATA code on your ticket, it's not just a label. It's your entry point into this huge, complex, and honestly, fascinating global system. A system that's built on its own unique codes and its own unique measurements. A language that now you can actually read. The only question left is, what other hidden systems are you going to notice on your next trip?